Today we're going to demonstrate millet pudding. There are two varieties of millet pudding. We just recently had a cooking class and demonstrated them both. One is essentially baked millet with dates and raisins and this coconut in there, and it's sweetened and it's pretty good. The second one is where you cook millet and then you blend it with pineapple juice and layer it with different fruit. And the second one is what we're going to demonstrate today. Now, the original recipe calls for, when you're cooking your millet, 1 cup of millet to 2 cups of water. Cook it in an Instant Pot or a pressure cooker for about 45 minutes. I've made a little change to that. Instead of using the water, I asked my wife Denise to use 2 cups of pineapple juice. That way it would sweeten it up and we wouldn't have to add as much maple syrup in the recipe. So that's what we're going to do today. She's got it cooked already, and it's over here, we'll show you in a minute, in the Instant Pot, and it smells great, and I'm looking forward to trying it. But before we start with that, we've got to start with a base for our recipe, and that is granola. So we're going to make a simple granola here, really simple. So this granola recipe is quite simple. We got it out of an old Country Life cookbook, and it's called Simple Granola. I'm not going to follow it, I'm just going to use the proportions for it. It calls for 8 cups of oats, so we've used instead 4 cups. We don't need that many, we don't need that much granola. So it also calls for oil, a 1/2 cup of oil, which would translate to a 1/4 cup. But instead, I'm going to use some cashews and blend them up with water, vanilla flavoring, and some maple syrup, and some salt, and then we'll mix that together, and that will be our granola. That'll be really simple. So we're just going to go ahead and rinse our cashews right now. That's pretty much all we do for rinsing our cashews. We've got some hot water on it. It softens them up and makes it easier to blend as well. All right, and then we're going to put this in the blender. And I'm going to add 1 cup of water. Might have to add some more. 3/4 of a teaspoon, I should say, of Pink Himalayan salt, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla. We just use vanilla flavoring. We don't use the extract. We try to avoid the alcohol. I'm sure it probably wouldn't hurt a whole lot if you had it, but we just rather not have it. All right, and that's it. And then we're going to add some maple syrup. Now that's just going to be something that I'm going to have to guess, because it actually calls for 1.5 cups of dates, so that would translate to 3/4 of a cup if we cut it in half. So I'm going to probably put about 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, and that should be fine. 1, 2, 3. What a combination. Maple syrup and cashews. That is always a winner. All right, and now we're going to blend that up. Okay. That smells really nice. Wow. It's kind of liquid. I wanted it to be a little bit thicker than that, but that's okay. It'll still work. We go ahead and pour some in there. You don't want to put too much and end up with oatmeal. It's almost there. I think a little bit more. I don't think that entire amount will work. It'll be too much. Now, if you're making regular granola, you could use this recipe and then just add, some dried fruit in there, and coconut and almonds, whatever you want to add in there. It would turn out pretty good. So I think that's about enough. What do you think, Denise? A little bit more?
No, let me see. No, I think that's fine.
Okay. Well, something's telling me to add a little bit more. Just a touch more.
You need to add a little bit more.
And then what we'll do with that is in the morning we'll have that on something. Okay, and then we're going to put this on some parchment paper. And our oven is already heated up because Miss Denise cooked some really amazing breakfast bars that we have not tried before. It's an experiment. We've demonstrated the breakfast bars before, but now this is made with peaches. So if you want to show a picture of that, well, actually, let me just go ahead and show that. That is going to be really good. Fresh peaches. We just bought a whole box of them. We're almost at the end of them now, but we're looking forward to that for breakfast. And then our granola for today is this. And just spread it out a little bit. Turn the oven on. Still hot from before, so it shouldn't take long for it to get to 350. And you want to cook this for, what does it say in there, about half an hour. I'll put that in here and let it cook for all right. So now the millet pudding also calls for some vanilla in it as well. And honey. Okay, so there's 1 cup of millet. It's pretty dense. I thought it was going to splash up at me, but it didn't. Don't look. And 1 cup of pineapple juice. We just bought some Dole, I think it was, pineapple juice in a can and used that. That might be a little soupy with that other stuff in there. We'll just add more if it is. Now, about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm guesstimating here, so I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I think it should be fine. Here's 1, 2, that should be good. And of course, we're going to blend this up. Did we put the the vanilla in there? We didn't put the vanilla in there. Teaspoon of vanilla. This is kind of soupy. You can see that it's a little too runny. It's going to get cold and firm up a little bit, but this is a little bit too much. So I'm going to add a little bit more millet in there. And it should work good. So our granola is cooked, and we're going to put some in the bottom of this dish here, just a little bit. Break it up a little bit. That should be plenty. We don't want too much on there, otherwise it'll get too thick. And then the next step is to kind of keep it in place with the pudding. And so this is what the millet pudding looks like once it's blended up. There we go. It's a little runny still. Could be a little thicker, but that's okay. Once it gets in the fridge and it sits there overnight, it'll get thicker. It'll congeal. Then the next thing I want to do, one of my favorite fruits besides blueberry, is banana. So we just take some slices of banana. You got to try this. I mean, this is really good. It's amazing. Like when we had our cooking class on last Sunday, people were really enjoying it. And it's not too sweet. And it's a good, healthy breakfast. All right, so we got our bananas there. And then we're going to take, Denise thickened up some blueberries, which is probably my favorite fruit, and with a little bit of non-GMO cornstarch and a couple tablespoons of maple syrup. The recipe calls for sugar, but we've tried it with sugar before. It's good, but I'd rather have maple syrup since we've got maple in here already. It'll kind of keep flavor uniform. So we just put a little bit of that across there. And you can see how nice that looks. It's just really, really nice. It smells so good. Oh, you got to try this, really. I'm serious. This is one great recipe. I learned this recipe years ago when I was at UT Pines. And we made it, I don't know what it was, but we simply used 1 cup of pineapple juice to 1 cup of millet. And it was really good. But for some reason, when I use 1 cup of millet and 1 cup of pineapple juice, it doesn't turn out. It's way, way too thick. All right, so now we're going to add a little bit more granola in there. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle it on. And you can put this in a little cup, like a parfait cup. I've done that before. It looks really nice if you have guests coming over. You serve them breakfast with a parfait cup. And you can put different fruit in there, you know, raspberries, strawberries, and it looks really nice. And it's not too filling, you know. If you make it really thick, of course it could be, but it's not bad. And pretty much that's it. Now you can finish it with blueberries on top, with the blueberry, thickened blueberry on there, or you could, you know, leave it with the granola on there. I wouldn't leave it with the bananas on top because, you know, they'll start to brown unless you know, have some pineapple juice on them. Then you'll be okay. Okay, we're almost done. I guess we'll put the rest of this on there. Now you can imagine if this was really sweet pie filling that you wouldn't be able to eat a whole lot of this. But the trick to this is just get the right amount of sweetener in there so that the sweetener doesn't take over the flavor. You want to taste your blueberries. You just want to use the sweetener as a flavor enhancement, kind of like what you do with salt. You know, some people have salt and they put way too much salt and all you taste is salt. I mean, it actually becomes addictive. It can be good, but salt is really meant to bring out the flavor. And so the same thing with this here. Now you can keep on, you know, building this up and getting it right up to the top. But I think what we'll do is we'll just stop right here. It's kind of nice if you have a few tablespoons of blueberry on there, but we ran out. We've got more. We've got some wild blueberries, and I think what I'll do is I'll sprinkle some wild blueberries on there, and that'll be about the end of it. Any other chemical in them, so, or preservative. So there you go. Just sprinkle it with some blueberries. It'd be nice if they were fresh. We'll probably do that with some fresh ones. We just didn't have time to get them. There. That's nice. That looks pretty good. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Give it a try. It's a really delicious recipe, and we'll see you on the next one. We can also try and do, to demonstrate, I should say, the one that Denise just made, and I think that's going to be a real winner. Usually we make it with dates and raisins, but she left that out and just put peaches in there. Fresh, juicy Georgia peaches. It's so much fun and, you know, so tasty to just experiment with food in the kitchen, organic food, Not all of it's organic. Sometimes we can't get it, but we get what we can. And something that's refreshing and tasty, and it just makes it a joy and a pleasure to do some cooking, experiment. Hopefully I can inspire you to do the same. If you're on a diet that's not that good, do plant-based, give it a try. If you have any questions or any suggestions, please leave them in the comments and we'll see what we can do to answer your questions and comments. Thank you and take care for now.